Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a cabled snowman, and I'm going to be using a 36 peg loom. If you want to do a larger one, you can on the 3/4 inch gauge. That's just the standard that you get with the 24, 30, 36, and 40 packs. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to be using a 36 peg loom. So any standard 36 peg loom will do, because the only thing that's going to vary is the size, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to do a drawstring cast on, where I'm just weaving it in and out, okay? All the way around. And I will be working in the round. And this is going to be a pretty simplistic pattern. I'm going to show you how to go about doing things. All right, so we're here all the way around, and we're going to toss our loops over so that we have a loop on every peg. So we're doing our drawstring cast on, okay? And we're going to be doing a another 4-stitch right cable cross, excuse me. And that's the easiest one. You're not putting stress on the yarn to do it, and it looks nice and clean, just like I did for the pumpkin, okay? And it's going to give some texture. So it's going to kind of work like the pumpkin, but it's going to be a little bit more simplified, and you can scent this just like we did, but I'm planning on doing one long tube, but as I do the tube, I'm going to do so many rows, then I'm going to put a drawstring yarn in there or elastic in there to go ahead and drawstring it down to get the divisions in a snowman. Okay, so this is a really simplified snowman, and it'll be more complicated than it really is. Okay, so we have done our drawstring cast on, and what I want to do is go ahead and knit all the way around, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just knit my way around. Now I am intending to make this another scented project. I will tell you what scents I'm using, how many drops, so you can make your own. I hope those who may have tried my pumpkin, my scented pumpkin, have enjoyed that. I know I've really enjoyed it in my bedroom, putting off those seasonal scents, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and go and knit all the way around, and then we come back, I'll show you the 5-row repeat, okay? And 4 of the rows are exactly the same, and then you have your cable row, okay? I'm going to show you how to do that. So pause the video, get your row of knit done, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, we're ready to do our 4-row repeat, and there's a repeat within the row, okay? So what you want to do is you want to purl 1, and then you want to E-wrap 3. So you're 1, 2, and 3. Then you want to purl 1, and E-wrap 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You should be having a total of 9 stitches you just used. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's just it. Okay, so here's our repeat again. Purl 1, E-wrap 3, purl 1, E-wrap 4. Okay, so there's our purl 1, E-wrap 3, 1, 2, 3. Then purl 1, E-wrap 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then you're going to purl 1, you're at 3. 1, 2, 3. Purl 1, you're at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Purl 1, you're at 3. 1, 2, 3. Purl 1, you're at 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's 2 versions you can do with this. You can just not, you can do a cabling in your ERAP 3 section if you want, and I can show you how to do that. Or you can just leave the ERAP 3 and then purl 1 and ERAP 4 and just do the basic right 4-stitch right cable cross. But if you want a little bit more cabling involved, I'll show you how to go in and do that, okay? So that's the reason why I've ERAP'd these 3, okay? So go ahead, and if you are doing the basic ERAP 3, purl 1, ERAP 3, purl 1, ERAP 4, you want to do that for 4 rows, and then I'll show you how to do the right 4-stitch right cable cross. But if you're wanting to do a little bit more cabling, I'll show you how to do that, okay? So pause the video if you're doing the simple version and keep following if you want to do the more complicated version. Okay, if you're wanting to do the more complicated one where you have a cable of singles, 2-stitch cable braid kind of thing going on, I'm going to show you how to do that, all right, which gives your repeats a little more of a challenge, okay? So you're going to purl 1, then you're going to ERAP 1, then you're going to do a right cable cross. So what you're going to do is you're going to skip that first peg, ERAP the second, take your stitch shoulder, put the stitch on there, put it to the center of the loom, take your working yarn, put it in front, wrap, place that stitch over, place the stitch on the stitch marker, back on it, okay? Then you're going to tighten your stitches, all right? Then you're going to purl a row, and then you're going to ERAP. So this is row 2 if you're doing a more complicated set. And then 3 and 4. Okay. All right, so this is row 2 of a 5-row set, okay? So we're going to purl 1. All right. Then you're going to ERAP that first stitch. All right. Then you're going to skip the next stitch and ERAP the third stitch. You're going to take that stitch and put it onto the stitch holder. Place it to the middle of the loom, take the working yarn and work it in front. Wrap the peg you skipped. Toss the bottom loop over. Then move that stitch over 1 and attach the stitch onto your stitch holder to that middle peg. Okay? Snug up your loops. Purl 1. All right. Then you're going to ERAP 4. I'm going to show you this one more time. 2, 3, and 4. All right, so you're going to purl 1. All right, you're going to ERAP 1. You're going to skip that next stitch. You're going to ERAP the next one. You're going to take this and put it onto a stitch holder. Place to the middle of the loom. Wrap the peg you skipped. Toss the bottom loop over. Move that stitch over to the next empty peg and place your stitch holder stitch onto the empty peg and snug up your loops. Purl 1, E-wrap 4. And this is going to be your repeat where you're going to do this for row 2, and then I'll show you row 3. So if you're doing the simple version, you're supposed to be doing row 1 4 times. And if you're doing the complicated version, then you just keep following me, okay? Let's go ahead and finish up the row, and then I'll show you row 3 of the 5-row repeat. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to do row 3. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to purl 1, E-wrap 3, purl 1, E-wrap 4. Okay, so row 1 and 3 are the same. E-wrap 3, purl 1. Okay, and then E-wrap 4. So keep that in mind that your odd rows are kind of the same except for row 5 in the set is going to be different. So purl 1, E-wrap 3, purl 1, E-wrap 4, all the way around. So go ahead and pause the video and complete that, and then I'll show you row 4 of the 5-row set of the complex version, okay? Okay, now it's time to show you row 4 of the 5-row set if you're doing the complicated pattern, all right, with the braid, the 3-strand cable braid. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to purl that first one. Then what we want to do is we want to take that next stitch and we want to put it on a stitch holder. Okay? We want to take it off and put it into the middle of the loom. You skip that peg, E-wrap the next peg. Toss the bottom loop over. Move that stitch over to the empty peg. Bring the working yarn to the front and add the stitch from the stitch holder and E-wrap that stitch you just put on, and then E-wrap again. Okay, purl 1, E-wrap 4. Okay, so here's our E-wrap 4. I'm going to show you this one more time because it is difficult. We're doing a 2-stitch left cable cross. All right. Okay, so we're going to purl 1. Okay. You're going to take the next stitch off. So your first stitch of those 3 E-wraps comes off. Place to the middle of the loom. Go behind the peg. E-wrap the next stitch. Toss the bottom loop over. Move that stitch over to the empty peg that you took the stitch off of. Take the working yarn to the front. Place the stitch you took off first that's on your stitch holder and put it back onto the loom. Then you're going to E-wrap the stitch. Then you're going to E-wrap the next stitch. Okay? Then you're going to purl 1 and E-wrap 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, one more time showing you how to do this. Purl 1. Then you're going to take that stitch off, that very next stitch off, which is your first E-wrap usually. Place it to the middle of the loom. E-wrap the next available stitch. Toss the bottom loop over. Move that stitch to the first peg. Take the working yarn, make sure it's in the front. Place the stitch that's on your stitch holder onto the second peg. Then you want to E-wrap that stitch and then E-wrap one more. You're going to purl 1 and E-wrap 4. So you're going to repeat this all the way around. Okay? So go ahead and finish the row up, and this is row 4 of a 5-row set. All right? Let's go ahead and pause the video and finish this up, and then we'll go and do our 5th row of a 5-row set, okay? Okay, we're finishing up our 5-row set, and we're ready to do a cable crossing of our 4 stitches. So we're going to purl 1, we're going to E-wrap 3. 1, 2, 3. Keep in mind this is also hard and easy version for the 5th row. Purl 1. Okay, so here's how a 4-stitch right cable cross goes. Skip pegs 1 and 2. E-wrap pegs 3 and 4. Toss the bottom loops over. Okay. Then you want to take off stitch 4 first, then stitch 3. Take them off the loom, place the stitch marker in the middle. Make sure the working yarn goes in front of the stitch holder. Wrap pegs 1 and 2 in that order. Toss the bottom loops over. Then you want to move stitch 2 to peg 4. Then stitch 1 to peg 3. Then you're going to place stitch 3 off the stitch holder and place it onto peg 1. Then you're going to place stitch 4 onto peg 2. Then you want to tighten your stitches up. This keeps it nice and uniform, okay? Kind of important. All right, and then that finishes one set. So we start the set over again. We're going to go purl 1, E-wrap 3, 1, 2, 3, purl 1. And we're going to do a 4-stitch right cable cross. Skip pegs 1 and 2, E-wrap pegs 3 and 4 in that order. Toss the bottom loops over. Okay, we're going to put stitch 4 on first, then stitch 3. Going to take that and place it into the middle of the loom. Take the working yarn in front, wrap pegs 1 and 2 in that order. Toss the bottom loops over. Place stitch 2 onto peg 4. Place stitch 1 onto peg 3. Place stitch 3 from your stitch holder onto peg 1 and stitch 4 onto peg 2. Go in and start on peg 1 to snug up your stitches. This keeps a uniformity to your cabling and you don't have that stretched look, okay? And then you start the pattern again. Purl 1, E-wrap 3, 1, 2, 3. Purl 1. All right, I'm going to show you the cable one more time. Skip pegs 1 and 2, E-wrap pegs 3 and 4 in that order. Toss the bottom loops over. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take stitch 4 and then stitch 3 onto your stitch holder in that order. Take it and place it to the middle of the loom. Take the working yarn in front, wrap pegs 1 and 2. Toss the bottom loops over. Then take stitch 2 and place it on peg 4. Then take stitch 1 and place it on peg 3. Then take stitch 3 and place it on peg 1 and stitch 4 and place it on peg 2. Okay? Tighten up your stitches so that you have a uniformity and it looks really clean, okay? Alright, so you repeat that all the way around, okay? Then you're going to repeat that 5-row set over and over and over again, okay? And you want to do that for a total of 25 rows, okay? So pause the video and get 25 rows done. And when we come back, we're going to put in a drawstring area. So we're going to be doing the bottom. Then we're going to do 20 rows. And then we're going to do 15 rows for the head, okay? So keep in mind that's kind of the pattern. 25, 20, and 15 is the rows in between our drawstrings that we're going to add in, okay? So go ahead and pause the video, repeat the 5-row set, for a total of, let's see, I think it's 4 more times, okay? So repeat the 5 row set 4 more times. We've already done 1 set. And then when we come back, we'll do a drawstring pull, and then we're gonna do 4 sets then of the 5 row set, and then we'll do 3 sets of the 5 row set, okay? So if you feel comfortable with that, you can just go ahead and do it, but I need to show you how to do the drawstring area so that it's a little easier when it comes time to actually get that shaping that the snowman has. Okay, as you can see, we have completed 5 sets for 25 rows. If you'd like it a little bit longer, you can do 30. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to add in our drawstring area for later. Okay. And this is pretty simple here, actually. So what you want to do is you want to take some scrap yarn that's a similar color, wrap it around the loom, and have it a little bigger than the loom, okay? So what you want to do is do it the same direction all the way around. So I'm going to do it is in the way of knitting, okay? So I'm going to sit there and we'll pull this through. I'm going to do this all the way around, okay? So this is my drawstring section, okay? And when I'm done, I'll just drawstring it all down to cinch the areas that I want, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and get your drawstring through every single stitch, and we'll come back and then we'll move on to the next section. Okay, we've put them through all the stitches. Then we want to put these in the middle like this. And because this is a drawstring area and you're not going to see the stitch change, you're just going to knit you're going to knit a row, okay? So that's what you're going to do. You're just going to knit a row, and then you're going to go right back to your 5 row set, okay? And this time, instead of doing it for 25 rows, you're going to do it for 20 rows. So you're going to do it 4 times, all right? And then you're going to do the drawstring thing again, and then you're going to go for 3 sets of the 5 row set, okay? But when you do the drawstring thing, you do this the exact same time, the same way every time, okay? All right, so go ahead, knit all the way around, start your 5 row set, do it 4 times, then drawstring like this, knit 1 row, then do your 5 row set 3 times. When we come back, we'll be ready to do our drawstring bind off and prep for finishing up the body of the snowman. Okay, and I also have a black to make a top hat. All right, and then we will add other things for eyes and that kind of thing. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and get the majority of your body done. We will come back and finish up by doing the drawstring bind off, okay? So again, you're gonna do, after you knit around, you're gonna do 4 sets of the 5 row, then you're gonna do the drawstring thing with a row of knit after that. Then you're gonna do 3 sets when we come back of the 5 row set, and be ready to come back and show you how to do the drawstring bind off, okay? Okay, as you can see, I have finished my sections, and there is one section, and there is the next section right there, and then we're to the 3 sets of 5 that we've done. Now, I'm one who kind of works fluidly, and I like to go ahead and work the hat into one piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take my black yarn here, and I'm going to change color. And we're going to make a little top hat. Okay. We're going to make a little top hat, and then it's all going to work together. Okay? And it'll work out nicer than you think. Alright, so what we're going to do is change our color. And our first row is going to be knit. Then we're going to want to stitch marker. I mean, you can stitch marker, but and you can skip the stitch markering if you think you can see the original stitches to put back. Okay, because we're going to do like a hemmed brim thing. All right, but the first thing we want to do is we want to just knit all the way around after we've changed colors. Okay, so what you want to do, I'm going to have to glue a couple of pieces back in. Not a big deal. Knit all the way around. So pause the video and get that much done. Okay. Okay, I've done my one row of knit, and now I'm going to do a seed stitch because it has the biggest splayed out kind of stitch patterning. Okay, it really flattens out pretty good, so it'll create a nice brim. What I want to do is I want to do approximately 10 rows of a seed stitch, and then we're going to fold it back to create a brim. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a knit one, purl one all the way around. So knit one, purl one. Don't know why this is acting like it's so tight. Don't knit that tight. Purl one. Okay. So knit one and purl one. There it goes. Knit one and purl one all the way around. All right, so that's your row. You start off with a knit one, purl one. That's row one. This is a 2-row set. All right, so knit one, purl one all the way around. Okay, this is the second row of the 2-row set. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to purl one and knit one all the way around. Okay, so purl one, knit one. And you're going to repeat this 2-row set for a total of 10 rows. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, complete the 2-row set. Row one is knit one, purl one. Row two is purl one, knit one. Okay, the opposite of what you start with. Repeat that for 10 rows. We'll come back, we'll create our brim, and then we'll be ready to start the next section. Okay, we have done our 10 rows, and at this point we want to start pulling back up these stitches you see here onto the pegs all the way around. Now if you stitch markered, you would know how and what stitches to add back easily. If you didn't, you can do this method where you see this distinctive stitch that's black sitting there to go back on. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and get all your stitches back on to the loom, and this creates the brim of the top hat. Okay, so pause the video and get that much done, and then we will go on from there. Okay, we've added all our stitches back all the way around. Now what we want to do is knit 2 together all the way around. So go ahead and pause the video and get all your stitches, all your pegs back down to 1 stitch. Okay, we've got all our stitches back down to 1. What we want to do now is we want to knit a row, and then we're going to do a strand that we will draw string in later. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. Knit your way around 1, And just like we've been doing with the other sections through here, you're going to send a strand of black all the way around to be drawstrung in later. Pause the video, get that much done. Okay, so I've knitted a row and I have my drawstring in there. And now what you want to do, and this is the simpler part, is you want to go in and you want to knit, depending on how tall you want the top hat, you want to knit for 15 to 20 rows, okay? 15 if you want a shorter top hat, 20 if you want a taller one, okay? Just pause the video and complete 15 to 20 rows. We'll come back and finish off the top of the hat. Okay, I have finished my 15 rows, as you can see, and you can see the little brim that you've created here. Okay, so now what I want to do is try to finish up. So in order to create a top hat, we do a single purled row. What this does is it starts to allow the garment to fold in. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and complete a row of purl. Okay, I've done one row of purl, and the next set is to do 3 rows of knit. Okay, so you want to do 3 rows of knit. You want to pause the video, and then we'll be ready to do what I call the fine gauge drawstring decrease, so it's nice and smooth. Okay, so go ahead and knit your 3 rows, and we'll come back and do the next section. Okay, we're to the next section where what we want to do is we want to start a decrease. So what we want to do is we want to knit 2, then we want to knit 2 more, then we want to take this last stitch, go back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and then you want to move it over 1, then you want to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, take that last stitch, move it back 1, toss the bottom loop over, move it over 1, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Take the last stitch, move it back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take the last stitch back, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take the last stitch, toss it over, move it over 1. So go ahead and pause the video and complete this row doing that, and then when we come back, I'll show you what the next 2 rows are. Okay, we've completed that, and now what we want to do is knit for 2 rows, and what that entails is you knit the 2 and then you go back behind and then you knit 3. So when you're knitting around, you're going to go behind those empty pegs, okay? Now you're going to do this for 2 rows, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and complete 2 rows of knit with the stitches that are left on the pegs, okay? Okay, now it's time to get it to where every other peg is empty. So what you want to do is you want to knit the first 2 stitches, and then you want to take that second stitch, go back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and then move it forward 1. Then go back behind the empty peg and then knit 2, 3. Take back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and then move it over 1. Go back behind the empty peg. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Take that last loop, move it back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over 1. Take the working yarn behind the next empty peg and knit 3 again. 1, 2, 3, and then take that last stitch, move it back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and then move it over one. Take the working yarn behind the empty peg. Do this all the way around to where all your pegs, every other peg should be empty and every other peg should have a stitch on it. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go behind the empty pegs with the working yarn and knit for 2 rows. So behind the empty peg and knit, behind the empty peg and knit, behind the empty peg and knit. So we're going to do this for 2 rows, and then when we come back we'll be ready to drawstring bind off. Okay, at this point we're ready to do a drawstring bind off, but when we actually drawstring everything off, do not pull close, keep it wide open as much as possible, okay? Because what we have to do still is we have to go in and properly go in and close up the bottom here, and then we have to go in and insert the stocking or sock that we're going to fill with rice, scented rice, and then we got to cinch off the bottom, then we got to let that shape that and then cinch off the next section, and then shape that and cinch off the next section. So there's going to be a lot of shaping that's going to happen with our drawstring areas, and the last thing we want to do is close off this side last. Okay, so you're gently going to be taking and drawstringing off. Now normally I would take every other stitch off and then what's left, but it's 18 stitches and I don't foresee this being a problem. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and finish taking off the stitches off the loom. Okay, and then we'll be ready to start working on the next step that really brings the snowman to life. Okay, so you're going to need some peppermint oil and wintergreen oil, and you're going to need probably a pound of rice, and you're going to need a stocking. I would suggest a white stocking, but a stocking, and or a sock, and you'll need to be able to prep that, okay? And I'm going to show how to do all that, but there's things you want to have in hand. If you don't want to bother with the making it scented, you can just go in and stuff it and cinch those areas, okay? And that'll do the same thing. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and get those things ready and finish this up so that when we come back we'll be ready to start really putting our snowman together. Okay, I have pulled out my drawstring areas, okay, so that when I go to actually add in the rice I can close those off easier, and I do that with a crochet hook. And you're going to need a crochet hook anyway, because what you'll do is you'll go in and hide those inside of the actual snowman, okay? But first things first, I need to close off this bottom, okay? So here's what I personally like to go in and do. It's a star method, okay? So here is where my yarn ends, okay? So what I'm going to do is send the needle through the top, okay, and pull through. All right, then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to send the needle through the bottom, and then I'm going to pull through. And then I'm going to come up to the side and I'm going to send the needle up through here, and I'm doing a star pattern, and that's what helps close it off, okay? So that's how I do this. And then I go across and do another pattern where I'm going in, and then I'm going to kind of finish it off by going beside my starting point a little bit, okay? So then I'm going to close it off. I'm going to pull it tight, okay? All right. So as you can see, that goes in and closes it off. All right. If you think there's an area that didn't get quite closed in enough, you can go in and put the needle through and finish it off that way. Okay? Now, okay, So I closed off my bottom, and what I want to do is go in and finish tying it up. I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that it gets closed off properly. And then I'm going to send it up through the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to cut off my extra. Alright, and you got it closed off. Okay, so next you want to get quite a bit of rice. I'm going to need more rice than this actually, but it's going to take probably at least a pound, if not a little bit more rice than this. And what you're going to want to do is you want to get a Ziploc bag, and you're going to want to put 3 drops of peppermint oil and 3 drops of wintergreen into a Ziploc bag, and then you're going to shake it around for about 2 minutes, making sure that it's thoroughly coated, the rice is thoroughly coated in the scent. And then you're going to take a stocking. If you can get a white one, that'd work better than this one, because if your yarn is thinner than expected, you can see that and kind of see through that a little bit. If you want it to have a nicer solid background, try using a white stocking. Okay, so go ahead and get your rice prepped and make sure you have your stocking. And you're going to need a measuring cup or a tall cup to be able to place this in and to start shoving the stocking in there, because it's going to be easier to add the rice as you go along to each section. And I don't normally do that, but because this is so long and I'm wanting to add it section by section, it's just going to be easier to go ahead and insert the stocking. Okay, but if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can go ahead and load the entire stocking with rice and then try shoving it in there. But I find that this is just going to be easier to gauge how much rice you're going to need, okay? Okay, I have filled it up, as you can see, and am ready to start cinching my areas. Now, you don't want it filled all the way to the top. The reason being is you're going to be cinching areas, okay? All right, so try to keep the end in such a way, and then what you want to do is try and tighten this up so that you have a nice roundness that you're after, okay? That's the benefit of rice. It will adjust itself, okay? So once you get it about where you want it, you can go ahead and knot the string, okay? Then you want to go in and try to get the other one, all right? While trying to keep this up here, you want to make sure you have enough, so that if you don't have enough, it's okay. All right, you get that solidified. Okay. Now you can kind of see where we're at here. Now there is a section that needed to have been cinched right after the top hat. Okay, so we're going to cinch that, and we'll probably need to add a little bit more rice. Alright. Alright, so we have a little bit of rice left here. And what we want to do here is fill it up the rest of the way, and then you'll want to sew off the top of it. Alright, and then drawstring it together. But as you can see, there is the basic of your snowman, okay? And then what you'll do is you will cut these a little shorter and take the crochet hook and weave in the ends. But I'm going to put I'm not going to scent it anymore. I'm just going to put a little bit more rice in the top. And then I'm going to sew up the top so it's closed. And then I'm going to close off the top, okay? Okay, I've filled it up to the bare mix that I can. And you can either sew off or tie off the top. I'm going to try to tie it off. And then probably go in and sew it off just to give me a little security while I sew it up. But I'm going to go as tight as you can go. And just, tie it off, okay? Alright. And what this does is it makes sure all your rice stays in there. Alright, so tie it off again. Alright, and once you think you have it, you can sew it up if you'd like. And then what you want to do is you want to drawstring this together. And flatten out. And there you can see your snowman has started. Now, what you want to do is work on closing off everything. Okay, so, and then you'll be ready to add in your facial features, in which I would suggest gluing. And if you want to be able to throw this in the microwave, do not use anything that is metal. Make sure everything that you use is plastic. Now, me personally, all I want to do is add a few finishing touches, maybe a scarf, eyes. At this point, it's up to you. Feel creative as to how you want to add your face. If you want to add arms, just remember, if you want to put it in the microwave to intensify the scent for 30 seconds, make sure that you don't use anything metal in this whole process, okay? But otherwise, that is how you make a cabled scented snowman.